I'm going to do a series of videos on the Passap ribbers as I proceed to explore mine. I've got the M201. Let's see if I can back up. Got the M201 set up, which was, I think that was also the Speedo Knit. I'm sure it was, but not the Speedo Knit automatic. I had laughed at it because it just meant that there was a yarn feed, but actually it had a lot more cam selection and guiding options than the M201, and so they meant automating quite a bit. I guess they were on their way to the next big change, which would have been the Pinky. So, as far as I know, all other ribbers of the mid-century worked on allowing you to knit one and purl one because the needles were fixed. And so you could knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and that was that. The Passap, being Passap, did something else. Here, you got this wonky little tool, and you turn the needle in its socket, and it comes out. Then you just move over. So you're setting up your interval. I'm going to do a 2 and 2. I have a deep liking for various ribbing patterns, and I don't even like to match them all. Sometimes I like to do like 5 and 1, then 3 and 1, then 5 and 1, then 3 and 1, or 5 and 1 and 1 and 1 is a real nice mixture there. And so this is near and dear to my heart to be able to set this up. Doesn't bother me in the least to have to do this weird little gizmo setup, because you're just setting it up for the knit. And then once it's set up, it's set up. You don't, I guess you could vary it. You could go out of a sock cuff, which should be in 2 and 2, but I always do in 1 and 1, and then go into a patterning rib. But anyway, one other thing I wanted to comment on, and I will play with this. As far as I can tell, there's no real racking capability with the machine. However, there is, let me get out of my own way, there is sliding capability, and by gosh, you might be able to rack with that. The basic mechanism, and then we'll, farther, not closer, and then we'll do more on the ribber as a whole after I've got it set up. In order to not have a second carriage, they were not yet to attaching the carriages together. They don't have a carriage on this. What you did was you used this handle to make the stitches. And so you're going to almost inevitably run the carriage first and then make the ribber, or vice versa. The stitches will be made separately, and so it's two, just as with the Knitax, it's 2 operations per 1 knitted row, ribbed row. Alrighty, I have cast on. I went back to a knit 1 purl 1 just to be able to follow the directions. The directions are very straightforward, and so there's no problem with following the directions to get cast on. And now I'm getting ready to knit, and you need to be able to weight the knitting somehow. Passap doesn't use weights technically, but they sure did use something that pulled down, okay? So it was a little bit of a cuteness to say that they didn't use weights at all. They do with the ribber. It is this astonishing contraption. I don't know if somebody had a brother-in-law in the parachute business and thought he'd get him a little bit of business or what. I've never seen anything like it. I was aware of this before. It's one of the appeals of this ribber. You put one side in here, and it slides into place, and then you take these, which are elasticated, and you attach to And I'm going to attach there and there to keep a balance. It's true. Do the same over here. I know that there's a video on YouTube where it's being stood on in order, or the foot is applying pressure in order to on the wood, and so I don't know what was wrong. Okay, but this is how it goes. And so this is, let's look, like a ship of the Maine. That's the Passap ribber in full sail, getting ready to rib. I'm gonna do this process for you from a distance, and then we'll zoom up close and watch what happens. I think because I'm used to other two-step machines such as the Knitax, Knitmaster, Knit Kings, this is less shocking to me than it was a few years ago when I first tried this. So I'm actually comfortable with this, but I love a solution. So let's look. So we're gonna put the yarn into the hooks of the needles. That's done with these. There's no yarn feed. They will develop a yarn feed soon. Passap will. Soon for us is still in the 1950s. But right now they don't have it. So we knit. And that knits the top. And then you knit the purl row. Okay? Let's watch. I love stuff like this. Okay, let's see what'll work. That'll work. Okay, so here we come. I'm going to put the yarn across, and we're coming across. Here comes Mr. Carriage. All right, then we turn the handle. The rubber needles go down, then they go up, and then they sit in position. Let's do that again. So this is what sets this pass, unlike the Knitax, which does it with the ribber, and then you follow with the top. This is a lock. It's not a carriage in Passap world. You pass with the lock, and that sets the stitches. And what has happened is, let's get a little pointer. There's a bar of yarn. Oops, you can't see that. Where are you? There's a bar of yarn there across the belly, as it were, or the throat of the river needle. These have already knitted, but these need to knit yet. And so let's watch and see what it does. I'll leave that there. It goes down to pull the old stitch through. Then it goes up to free the latches. Then it goes down again and is ready. Ready. Let's do it again. It is a lovely machine, and one of the things that they said is how quiet it is, and it's very smooth. The speeder knit, this was also a speeder knit, is available here as the M201 and probably being model. Speeder knit being just what they called it. And then the speeder knit automatic comes along a little bit later, and you can see with the automatic, you can see Passap moving toward what is going to happen in 1961 when the ever so fabulous Passap Pinky appears and basically just stomps on everybody else like a Goliath, because you could do so much with the Pinky by just setting cam settings. Now, so there's just buttons on top of the, not cam, lock, I'm sorry. There were just buttons on top. I love Pinkies and Greenies. That's the next one, was the Geomatic. The problem is that I don't think that they fostered knowledge, because you didn't really, you got to where, as you do with Silver Reed later, you were as much following charts for the settings, kind of like being a co-pilot, than you were actually knowing necessarily what was happening. And I've got a problem with not knowing what's happening. So we'll back up. Watch this amazing thing one more time. Just in sheer admiration. With this machine, and probably with the automatic to a large degree, but with this machine, you very much know what's doing, what's going on. You're here with it. So there goes the lock. And there goes the river. There goes the lock. And there goes the river. As I said, you can set this up in different ribbing configurations, so that's quite different from other ribbers of this period. So despite its goofy, goofy look, you would tighten these as you needed to, because that allows them to say they didn't have weights while at the same time they were still pulling down, okay? There's considerable knowledge here that's needed, and that's why I like these machines and the Knitax family of machines, is that I think it's just the perfect intersection between the person, one knitter, and the machine, the other knitter. Okay, I think just one last video on the Passap river, this rather amazing river. I've gotten it in 2-in-1, knit 2, purl 1, because you can move the needles around, which is really nice. And now this handle puts the needles in different positions. And for Fisherman's rib, you want to slip past one time and then knit it all in. I've not knitted a lot of Fisherman's rib. It is immensely popular, but not with me, but just by chance, but I thought that I'd do it. So here's the pattern. You have your needles up, and then I'll get up close on it, and you bring the lock, we're practicing, across. And so what that does is that then when you come down into your normal knitting position, you have 2 of the main bed stitches under the latch. Under the latch means it's going to be knocked off when the needle goes through. So you come back, bring your lock across, and then you do 1 knit stitch, and then you go up again to put a row across the belly of the needles, and you bring it down. So there are going to be 2 passes of the lock for each pass, or whatever dip and bob of the river. Okay, so let's get up close and personal and watch how it works. And then I'll back up again for Debbie's pleasure because she's watching this. I tried to find a picture. Is it cats that watch the dryer? I couldn't find anything. All right, so it's not a great color. Sorry, it's like a taupe. I can't help it. I picked it because it's tasteful and I thought it looked good in Fisherman's rib, but it's not particularly good for us to see. Okay, so we're up now, and that handle is up at 12 o'clock. We're going to come across with the lock, and you see here, you see that there's already a stitch on the belly of the river needle. Now let's come across, and there are now 2 stitches on the belly of the river needle. You lower down so that the latch is over both of those. Come back with your lock, and then come back all the way down to make the stitch and up to do that pass. It's similar to a tuck, and my working out of slip versus tuck is just about what you just heard. Oops, let's go down. But it's just a stitch that you're not knitting once, and that's a slip. You're slipping past it. It's so different from the way that it's done by hand. Even though I haven't done a lot of it by hand, I've done some of it by hand. That I haven't gotten my brain to worry about it yet. I guess I'll have to. Okay, so now I'm gonna back up, and you can just watch the gig. Sorry if I'm making you car sick with the motions. This is not as good a stand as I had hoped, in that it's awkward. I'm sure it's fine if you're doing the Meghan Markle thing, but I'm not. Okay, so here's the gig. I'm up, and the handle is up. Up, rather than all the way around and down. If I'd gone all the way around, I would have been in the position to knit again. So now I've got two. I lower down to get ready to knit them. I contact again with the main bed. Go all the way up. Let's come in close one more time. Can't see it yet. I've dropped the heck out of some stitches before I figured this out. It helps to know what the stitch is. So I finally just waded through the instructions. So you can see my mess, but we should have good knitting coming along in a few minutes, and I'll knit enough to be able to post a picture of it. So let's zoom in. Okay, here we go. So I'm up. They call this the check position. I don't know why. So I will keep knitting, and we'll get some cloth in this picture in just a sec.